It seems like a disconnect, and I'd like your comments on those two.
You know, there are three issues here about whether we should accept Senator McCain's proposition that we should stay for 100 years. One is moral, one is constitutional, and the other is economics. And I'll start with the moral issue. By what right should one generation commit the next generation to perpetual war and perpetual policing of the world? There's no right for our generation to sign a treaty with any country in the world to say no matter what happens in the future, we're going to go to war automatically. That treaty is unconstitutional. You can't amend the Constitution through a treaty. You only go to war with a declaration of war. So this idea that we should stay, if you stay there with troops, that means you're in defense of land, and you're always susceptible to war. So we can't do that. We can't promise the next generation or obligate the next generation to be there physically and potentially killed in an operation like that. Constitutionally, you can't do it. There's no authority for us to be the policeman of the world. And the idea, the notion that somebody believes that you can make a plan for staying 100 years. And I think he followed up with the justification, so what? We've been in Korea for 60. Yeah, so what? We've been in Korea for 60 years. That's a good reason we need to quit if you care about these economic problems that we're having. But the reason I am absolutely sure that we'll win this argument is the economic issue. I hope everybody would, I wish everybody would go back to the Constitution and deal with the moral issue, but the practical economic issue is the one that will determine the limitation of this. And this is what has happened so often through history. The limitation comes from the inability to finance the empire. We can't afford it anymore.
Now, that town hall meeting was an hour long, and I urge you to go to YouTube to watch all of it. Later during it, he speaks more about our economic situation and the reality of the other candidates' ideas about our wars overseas. I would like now to go to a clip showing Ron Paul speaking after the results of the New Hampshire primary came in. Not only do I love the crowd's enthusiasm in this clip, but I love how Ron Paul did not let the results change his speech or his message. The reality is that his consistency fuels this grassroots campaign.
Thank you very much for this nice, warm welcome. It has been a long, tedious job over these last several months, but there's no reason for us to be letting up. It's really only the beginning of what we have. About the election, and we are going to pursue it, and yet we have a little bit more concern in this campaign than the election alone. We care about the future of this country, and we're going to fulfill this fight. They talk about the future, and they talk about hoping. Occasionally, they even mention the Constitution. Can you imagine? But there is no doubt in my mind that we're on the right track. We're moving, and your generation, the young people of this country, have awakened, and this is just going to be the beginning of something very, very big for this country. found us on the internet. That's very exciting. But you know, the other thing that has been tremendously exciting for me, you know, I've talked about several policies. The number one policy, of course, is individual liberty and our Constitution. Concerned about honest money. You know, the government's supposed to be there to protect honesty and money, not to destroy the money. You never see the day where we would get loud cheers on the University of Southern California and the University of Michigan when I start talking about getting rid of the Federal Reserve. Campus, but it was sort of entertaining when the students at the University of Michigan started pulling out dollar bills and lighting them up. That's what I thought you would do, but you know, there's a fire code around here, so be careful. But I also know we were making progress on the money issue when we get people like Jay Leno asking me about, what is this business about printing too much money? They've told me for years that you should never talk about monetary policy because it's so complex.